Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to be talking about clay dragon eyes. We're going to use that little packet of clay in your packet. It has a little bead, it has a little toothpicks. You also should have some markers and then just a piece of paper from home that you folded up to hold your dragon eye when you're done. Some scissors, a pencil, and some color pencils. All right, let's get started. First, you're going to take that little piece of paper and trace your gem 2 times. And I do it 2 times so that I have 2 choices when I'm done, or if I make an oops on one, the other one I might like better. You just never know. If you don't have color pencils, you can do this with markers. You can do it with crayons, really any coloring material you have at home. Notice I'm using a light color in the middle, and then I'm going out towards the edges, and then I use that dark color on the very edges. This is pretty much true of most eyes. If you look in the mirror, you'll notice that some of them have a really dark edge. And this makes it look more realistic when we put our gem on. And then the other one, I decided to use 2 different colors, again using the lightest color in the center and the darkest color on the outside. You could try 2 different coloring materials if you have 2 different coloring materials at home, but really I just wanted to show you that you really can make really cool eyes with any kind of material that you have at home. Then you're going to add a black center. Again, you can use color pencil. I even used an Expo marker, anything that's really dark and black. And I just created like a really skinny oval with points on the end, like a football shape. And this makes it look more like an animal instead of a human eye. Then I cut them out. Using my plastic bag as a placemat really does help when using the clay, because the clay will absorb any color left on the table or any dust. When you open your package, know that once you open it, you have to use it or put it in a plastic bag or it'll dry out. I'm just rolling it into like a log right now, and then I'm going to cut it with my scissors into 3 equal parts. If they're a little bit different, that's okay. Just try your best. I'm going to put 2 of those aside, and I'm using my extra wrapper to kind of hold them so they don't stick to anything. This is sticky clay. It's real mushy at first, but you'll notice it will start to dry out and crack. I spread it out into an oval, and I'm actually going to pick one of my colors and color the clay with the marker while it's wet. Then I roll it up, flatten it back out again, and I wanted to do a little bit of a mix of orange and red to make a red orange. So this time I'm using a little bit of orange. The more you color it, the stronger your color will be. Remember, you're coloring it on white, and white is going to make everything look lighter. So the more times you color it, the darker it will be. I think I color it like 3 or 4 times, and then I kind of blended it together. And you can see this is the part that I used for the eyelid kind of around. So you don't really see this piece as much as some of the other pieces. So this is really just your base. This is the piece that's going to go underneath everything. Then I kind of knead it like a piece of dough. I can leave it marbled like that, or I can keep kneading it until it's a solid color. When you're done kneading the clay, roll it into a sphere, flatten it out, and make it into the shape of your eye. You can make it a circle, it can be an oval, or you can pinch it to make it into a football shape. It's up to you. You can kind of see how big it is in comparison to my plastic bag. Smaller than the palm of your hand, but not too small, so it can hold all the parts of your eye. Once you're happy with the shape, lay your eyeball and your gem together right in the center. You can try to tape it down or put a little tiny dot of glue, but it might show through. So I just make sure I'm real careful not to move that gem until I get the eyelid on. Now I'm going to take another third of my clay and roll it into a ball and flatten it out into another oval shape. And now I'm going to color this piece of clay. This time I decided that I wanted it to be the same color as my base, but if you wanted it to be a different color, you certainly could. Again, I'm going to mix red and orange. Done kneading your clay, roll it into a sphere, and I kind of make it more like an oval or a football shape before I flatten it, because this is going to be the eyelid. You want it to be longer than the eyeball, and you want it to be not quite the same size. So this is actually a little bit too big. You'll see me take a pair of scissors and cut it. And also I have a different color on the back. I could use that side if I wanted to, or I could use the more solid side. So I just trimmed a little bit off because it seemed a little bit large, and then I cut it in half to make the top and the bottom part of the eyelid. I'm going to save that extra piece while I'm working on my eye so that if I need it, I can use that extra piece for some detail later. All right, so I'm cutting it in half and I lay it on top and I kind of position it where I want it to go. Don't worry, you can move it once you get it on there. It's not that big a deal. I almost put mine too close together. You can just use your toothpick and kind of push them kind of apart if they get too close together. This is when your toothpick really comes in handy because you can use it to position things, get into little places that your fingers can't get to, pull things out, and also you can use it to make textures, which you'll see me do also in just a minute with my toothpick. I kind of press the eyelid flat a little bit against the base so that the two would stick together. You don't just have to use a toothpick to add texture. You could use the end of your pencil or even a marker cap. With the last third of clay, I want you to break it into 3 equal parts as best as you can. And then this time we're going to use 1/3 to make some scales, and the other 2/3 we're going to make eyelashes or eyelids around our other eyelids. Yes, I know, more eyelids. And then this one, I did try to color it a little bit differently. I added more red and just a little bit less orange so that it would be a darker red orange, so that way, whoops, don't stick them together, guys. They're very sticky. Oops, just put it back. And then that way it would be a little bit different than the base. So you'll see I do color it a little bit differently. After I'm done putting my color, I just kind of twist it a little bit. Don't need it all the way, and then it gives it that marbled look. I'm going to turn it into little scales by rolling them into spheres and flattening them out, little tiny ones. And then when I do that and I start on the outside edge and start layering them, they begin to appear to look like scales of a lizard or some kind of creature. If you couldn't do all of this in one sitting and you wanted to take a little break, after you finish your little scales, that would be a good place to stop and then continue the rest of your project. You can do as many or as few scales as you would like, or you can make them into feathers, your choice, or you can make them into spikes. All right, now I'm going to color 2 pieces of clay very differently. This time, instead of blending orange and red, I'm just going to do 1 orange and 1 red. This is going to create some contrast and detail that I'm going to put around the eye. This is like the little eyelash edge around the eye, and I might even use some of these extra pieces to add some details. Now that I have my 2 different colors, I'm going to roll them out, and I'm putting all my extra pieces to the side using my little plastic bag as my placemat. I'm going to roll them out into 2 long snakes or coils. Coiling is a clay technique that artists use to build things up. In this case, we're going to take these 2 pieces that are different colors and we're going to roll them and twist them together to make that detail around the eye. Put them side by side and twist the ends in opposite directions until you get the desired size or as many twists as you would like to see. I keep twisting it and kind of rolling it real gentle. I don't want to squish it flat because remember, this is a sculpture. We want it to look 3-dimensional. So I don't want to squish this coil flat, but I can just kind of pinch it if I need it to be shorter or longer. And now I'm going to use this edge to kind of outline the edge of my eye. You can curl it, you can trim it with your scissors if it's too long, and then I use the other side to go around the outside of the bottom edge. Again, you can put this wherever you want. I could even use this to make feathers or spikes coming off the top of the eye. You get to choose where you want to put this. Okay, here comes the fun part. Now you get to take all these extra pieces of clay and come up with ways that you can make your eye more interesting. Could be feathers, could be spikes, you could add more scales, you could add some little tiny baby scales. You get to decide. This is the fun part. Using your tools that you have around there, you'll notice I use like a marker cap and the end of a pencil to add a little bit more texture and detail. Play around with it, have some fun, and I really can't wait to see what you come up with. Alright, this is the end of the video. Don't forget to take a picture of your finished product and send it to me in Canvas. Can't wait to see them.